everyone, welcome to today's session of Mastering Stakeholder Requirements. I want to begin today's session with a promise. I promise that you will be more confident while tackling case study rounds or behavioral questions based on the business scenario in your interviews. And it is also beneficial for the working professionals who tackle day to day requirements given by your manager or other stakeholders. Now imagine you are sitting in a case study round, you are sitting in front of your interviewers who has given a business scenario to solve. Or even if your manager comes to you and asks to analyze the recent inventory stockouts happening across the warehouse locations for the company. How will you tackle this situation? What will you do first? Type your answer in the chat. I just want to know what comes first to your mind. I will pause for 10 seconds while you write your answers. That's great to see. Unfortunately, 80 to 90% of data analysts focus on SQL, Excel, Python, Power BI, and other tools, which is okay. But to be a better data analyst, you will need the right mindset. And by right mindset, I actually mean structured problem-solving approach. This is what we are all going to see in today's session. Type yes in the comments if you are with me. Type yes. Let me introduce myself. This is Ganesh from Your Companion. I am working as a consultant for a multinational corporation, and my day-to-day job is to handle supply chain related requirements, working on data from the clients and delegating tasks to technical team for data analysis and implementation of new requirements within the enterprise resource planning softwares. I also hold Six Sigma Black Belt certification with me, which is an advanced certification for statistics in case anybody does not know about it. So this session will be strictly based on learning, and we are not selling anything to you. It is just for the betterment of our data analyst community. Type yes if you are excited for this session. Now enough of the introduction, and let me jump to the slides again to begin with today's session. By the way, if you have any questions, you can post that in the comment section of this video. I will be monitoring it, or if I don't get time during the session, I will have a look at it at the end of the session as well. Okay, so what we will learn today? We will learn the first phase of every data analysis project, which is really important. We will learn the importance of it and why it is critical to refine the problem statement. We will see here what could go wrong if data analyst does not pay attention to this first phase. Okay, we will have a look at several business case studies where we will refine the problem statement for further data analysis, frameworks to refine the problem statement, and as a bonus, we are also providing you a solved business case study and SOW document, which you can use directly from day one during your job, or can mention that in the interviews also. This will really have an impact on the interviewers. The importance of this SOW document you will come to know soon. So stay till the end of the session. We are going to solve one business case study together. Second case study I will give you to solve live in this session, and the third one I will provide you with answers, or you can take it as a homework also. The person who answers the second business case study live into this session, where I will actually pause for 10 minutes and give you time to solve the case study. Those who solve it and answer it within this live session, they will get special mention from our founder on our LinkedIn community. This can help your profile get highlighted on LinkedIn also. So let's move ahead. If you remember, I have asked you question in the Google form while you are trying to register for it. The question was, what is your biggest challenge as a data analyst? So here are some sample responses which I got from the registered candidates. My biggest challenge is to working on incomplete or incorrect data. Someone says SQL was my big challenge. Other persons were saying like interview preparation, there is not a proper guidance or something. So the answer I expected was more on the technical part. My biggest channel is gaining practical or real world experience. I have learned SQL, Excel, Python, Power BI through projects and practice. Okay, so that one answer is coming close, understanding the domain. But one answer I looked for is to understand, the biggest challenge is to understand the business requirement and analyze it. Okay, so most of the people here said that data cleaning and validation is the biggest challenge as a data analyst. But believe me, data cleaning is surely not the toughest part of being a data analyst. One of the response was understanding business requirement. I guess this response came from Jyoti, and she has hit the bullseye. The biggest challenge is understanding the business requirements, and that is why the first step of data analysis is clarifying the requirements and create a refined problem statement out of those requirements. This is what we are going to learn today. This is something we, being the experienced professionals, also struggle with. Okay, type no in the comments if you still not believe that this is the toughest part of data analyst, or yes if you think like what I am telling is correct. Type yes or no. Fantastic. Now let me tell you what is this phase about. Any data analysis consists of more or less below stages. The first stage is requirement clarification, or we can call it as ask phase. The second stage is gather data for our analysis. Third stage is data cleaning or processing. Fourth stage is analyze, do the analysis. And the fifth stage is share the results based on our analysis to the stakeholders. And there is one more stage which is like a act phase, where we actually act on the insights what we have developed. But as far as data analysts are concerned, more or less these are the 5 stages of the data analysis. The target for today is to understand the first phase, which is requirement clarification or ask phase. Now let me first explain what is this step or phase about. Google calls this phase as ask phase, but I prefer to call it as requirement gathering or requirement clarification stage, as it is self-explanatory and easy for everyone to understand. This phase is where you clarify the problem statement. And what is the problem statement exactly? So it is nothing but the requirement given by your manager. Okay, for example, if a manager says, can you predict the sales for a certain product next quarter? Or he can also say, the customer complaint seems to have risen last year. Can you analyze what is going wrong and where the issues are? So these tasks which are given by the manager are nothing but the requirements. Okay, or this kind of question can also come in your case study round for solving the business problem. Okay, whenever interviewer asks you to perform certain analysis, most data analysts think that they have understood the problem and quickly go to the data and try to do analysis. Even if you are working professional, this has a huge negative impact, because after a few days when you showcase your analysis to the manager will simply reject your work, saying that this is not what the requirement was, or this is not what we expected. Now imagine the time, resources, your team's efforts, your credibility all going down in the eyes of the manager. That's the reason why this is the phase where you have to ask maximum questions, so that the problem you are trying to solve becomes more clear for you and your stakeholders also. The decisions made in the remaining stages, we have already seen all the 5 stages, right? We are talking about first phase, but the outcome of this first phase actually impacts the other stages. Okay, so decisions made in the remaining stages depends on what happens here. If the problem is misunderstood during this requirement clarification phase, then you will collect all the wrong data, analyze the wrong information, build wrong dashboards, and ultimately recommend wrong business actions. So you see, the rest of the project may be technically correct. You have analyzed the information correctly, you have gathered the data, but you will still fail to solve the actual business problem. Okay, now let me give you a simple example so that you understand what we are speaking about. Imagine you are traveling to another city. The next stages or the remaining stages of data analytics are like choosing the road, driving the car, checking the fuel, and reaching the destination. But the first stage, the ask phase or the requirement clarification phase, is deciding where you actually want to go. If you enter wrong destination into your GPS, even perfect driving won't get you where you need to be. The same applies to data analysis also. A skilled analyst spends time understanding the destination before starting the journey itself. Hope you all are understanding how critical this phase is. Comment yes in the chat section if you are truly understanding. Also you can ask questions if you have any doubt. We will try to answer all the questions. Let's quickly go through the major reasons why ask phase is so important before going through the case studies. Here are the major reasons why ask phase or the requirement clarification phase is so important. First, it converts the vague business concern into a clear problem. Businesses rarely comes to a data analyst with a perfectly defined problem. Okay, they come to you as a like explaining like what needs to be done. They say things like this, like sales are dropping, customers are unhappy, employees are leaving, profits are decreasing. So these are all the observations. These are not problem statements. This requirement clarification stage helps transform these broad concerns into a specific business question that can actually be answered with data. So for example, you see, instead of sales are dropping, the first phase may reveal weekend sales of premium electronics in Mumbai stores have declined by 18% over the last 3 months. Now everyone knows exactly what needs to be investigated. Instead of saying vaguely like sales are dropping, we actually know like what data to collect now. Like this, like what we are talking about is the Mumbai location. The product is premium electronics segment. The decline which has happened, like it is 18%, and we have to analyze data for 3 months, for past 3 months. Okay, so this is how the first phase is beneficial. The second reason, it prevents solving the wrong problem. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is assuming they have already understood the problem. Imagine a manager says our website traffic has reduced. You immediately begin analyzing website visitors. Later you discover that the real concern was not traffic, it was online purchases, because customers simply don't wish to buy the product due to the product quality. So those are like completely different problems. Without asking enough questions, you could spend weeks producing an analysis nobody actually needed. Okay, so this ask phase or requirement clarification phase prevents this kind of wastages. The third major reason, it helps identify the right business objective. A data analyst isn't hired simply to create charts. They are hired to help businesses make better decisions. Now during the ask phase, analysts understand questions like what decision will this analysis support, what does success look like, which KPIs matter, how will the company use these results. So without understanding the objective, it's impossible to know whether your analysis is successful or not. Okay, now let's go to the fourth reason. It ensures the right data is collected. Suppose you are asked to improve customer satisfaction. Before collecting data, you should know which customers we are talking about, which products are we concerned, which country do we need to analyze, for which time period. and what are the customer interaction that I should look at. Only after answering these questions you can identify what data is actually needed, right? So otherwise you will waste your time collecting unnecessary information. The fifth major reason, it saves enormous amounts of time later. So many people think asking question can delay the project. Actually it does the opposite, imagine like spending 30 minutes asking stakeholders good questions. Instead of that, if you don't ask the right questions, you could spend 30 hours analyzing irrelevant data. So a small investment in the ask phase saves countless hours in later phases. The sixth major reason, it creates alignment between everyone involved, like all the stakeholders. So different stakeholders have different expectations. For example, the marketing manager wants customer segmentation, the sales manager wants revenue trends, the CEO wants profit improvement. The ask phase brings everyone onto the same page by defining one clear objective. This prevents confusion later in the project. Okay. So seventh major reason, it uncovers project requirements. This phase is not only about the business problem, but it's about understanding the project itself. Like who are the stakeholders involved, who are the final audience, when is the deadline, are there any security restrictions to the data, what resources are available. So knowing these details help analysts plan their work effectively. Eighth one is, it helps analysts understand the business context, and that is really very important. Data without business context can easily be misunderstood. So imagine a sales manager comes to you and says, congratulations, your sales increased by 15% this quarter. Sounds like great news, right? Should the company celebrate? Not necessarily. What if the business target was to increase sales by 30%? Now, a 15% increase actually means the company missed its target by 15 percentage points. The same number, 15% growth, can represent success or failure depending on the business context. Also, the reason behind this 15% increase might be our competitor has moved out of the market, so maybe there are no other products for which the consumers might buy, so that's why you can see the 15% increase. So not necessarily 15% increase is like a positive news for the stakeholders, correct? So a key takeaway from this is, numbers don't tell the full story, business context gives the numbers their meaning. Okay, so the ninth and the last reason, it lays the foundation for the other remaining phases of data analysis. You have already known, like there are several stages of data analysis. So if you do this first step right, then it will give you the way to execute the other stages. Based on this first stage, it becomes then clear what data you should look at or what data you should collect. So if this ask phase is weak, every subsequent phase becomes less effective. Fantastic. So these are the top reasons why first phase of data analytics becomes so important. Now let's try to do some practical work. Let's solve one business case study together and make the problem statement more refined in nature. The second one, as you know, I will give you 10 minutes to solve, and the one with the best answer will get recognition from us on LinkedIn. The first one on your screen. You are working at an e-commerce giant as a junior data analyst. The manager approaches you and says, the sales has dropped recently and I need you to perform analysis and tell us what's wrong with the sales. Now, since we are trying to refine the problem statement, what will you ask first? How will you begin solving this case study? Any guesses? Type in the comments. I wish to know your thought process. I Good. That's great to see. The answers that I see in the chat box are relevant, but they are scattered. Now, here's the problem. How can we ensure that we always ask the right question to the stakeholders to clarify the business requirement? That's what you and me are here for. I am giving you the framework now, which is accepted almost everywhere in the data analytics field to refine the problem statement. I first got to hear about it from the data analytics course which I was doing from Google, and I almost use it every time I start a new project myself. The framework is SMART plus 5W1H. What every data analyst does to refine the problem statement is they ask questions that are specific, measurable, action oriented, relevant, time bound, and the questions they frame is around this 5W1H, which is what, why, where, which, whom, and how. So they frame the questions based on this framework. Now let me further explain the SMART framework more. Okay, so here the S stands for specific, which means we have to ask questions which is targeted at a specific topic or a few closely related ideas. M stands for measurable, meaning we have to ask questions which are quantifiable. Quantifiable meaning which can be answered in numbers. A stands for action oriented, means the actions the answers to the question we ask must be helpful to take further actions. Okay, so questions which you frame or you want to ask the stakeholders must make your stakeholder to take further actions. Okay, R stands for relevant, means the questions must be strictly related to the problem. T stands for time bound, meaning the questions must provide the answer that belongs to a specific period of time. Let us get back to the case study again. Our vague, unrefined problem statement was, the sales has dropped recently and I need you to perform analysis and tell us what's wrong with it. Okay, now let's apply the framework what we have just learned. Specific. For specific, we ask the stakeholder which sales have dropped or where the sales have dropped. Stakeholder answer, online grocery sale in the state of Maharashtra. Like this is what specific questions look like. Measurable. For measurable, we might ask the stakeholders by what percentage have the sales dropped. Then the stakeholder answer, like there is 20% decline in the sales. Now let's go to action oriented. For action oriented, we might ask the stakeholders, how can this analysis support business decision, or what will you do if we come to know the reason behind the decline in the sales decline. Okay, the stakeholder might answer, we will use this analysis to support our daily operations, we will focus on the critical factors, and based on the recommendation we will implement the best possible solution. Okay, so in this way we can ask more questions which are maybe sometimes qualitative in nature also. Now let's go to relevant. R stands for relevant. We ask to stakeholder, which product do we specifically need to target? So in this kind of category, you need to ask the relevant questions which are tied to the problem statement. Then the stakeholder might answer, target food products for the analysis. Time bound. We ask to stakeholder, what would be the date range for our analysis? The stakeholder then answer, then let's target Q1 for 2026. Now based on the question answer session between the stakeholder and us, the refined problem statement would be, determine the factors contributing to 20% decline in the grocery sales for food products during the Q1 of 2026 in the state of Maharashtra. Provide the recommendations also as a solution to those factors. You see how the problem statement instantly looks more actionable now. Hope you have all understood this framework and you are with me. Type yes if you are with me. Great. Now to further refine it, we will use RCA, or as you know, root cause analysis. The RCA is nothing but asking repetitive questions, repetitive why questions WHY to ourselves or stakeholders to develop the hypothesis or finding probable cause of the issue. Now let's apply RCA to it. Our pain point is that grocery sales have dropped. So we'll start with this pain point. We will ask, why do grocery sales for food products drop? The stakeholder, who might be the operation manager, will answer unavailability of food products or there is some checkout issue. So now let's go ahead with one of the issue. We can again ask to the stakeholders why food products are not available. Then the logistics manager or the logistics head, who is another stakeholder in our scenario, answers like the cargo trucks are unable to reach the warehouse locations. Now again we will ask why cargo trucks are unable to reach the warehouse locations. Then a stakeholder, who is a human resource manager, he says the truck drivers went on a strike for 10 days. Now again we will ask why strike was conducted by the labor union or the truck drivers. Now again the human resource manager might say, now the possible hypotheses which the stakeholder can answer are like maybe it was a wage dispute, maybe it was working conditions, maybe it was benefits or perks related issue, any unfair labor practices, like demands like higher base pay, minimum wage payments, or unpaid wages or bonuses, unsafe environments, excessively long hours. So any kind of issues in the health insurances, paid leaves, pensions, or is there any corporate restructuring which is involved. So there can be multiple reasons. Human resource manager has listed down all these things but is unable to say clearly what is the exact reason, and that's why data analyst is needed here. Now based on the RCA, what we have done, we will arrive at a final problem statement. Now the final problem statement might look like determine how the labor strikes occurring due to factors such as wage disputes, working conditions, benefits and perks, or unfair labor practices contribute to a 20% decline in grocery sales for food products during the Q1 of 2026 in the state of Maharashtra. We need to provide the recommendation as a solution to those factors. I will pause for a second and you can read the final problem statement again. You see how the analysis has suddenly become more broader in perspective. All of a sudden this issue shifted from being a sales problem to the human resources problem. This refined problem statement now clearly tells you what data to collect and analyze, which comes at the latter stages of the analysis. In this case study, you might need to further examine records to collect data across four main categories like external labor databases, internal HR metrics, union grievance logs, or company financial records also. So analyzing these data sets help you identify predictive patterns, calculate economic impacts, and pinpoint the exact triggers why these labor strikes were happening. But the motive of this session is to make you define the problem statement in a comprehensive manner so that this problem statement is easier to understand by all the stakeholders. Here's something critical most junior analysts don't do. Project requirements change over time, especially in larger projects. Example scenario, like suppose at first stage of the project, your manager asks you to analyze why food products are unavailable. You have just done the RCA, right? The answer to the first question was unavailability of food products, and your manager has asked you to analyze why the food products are unavailable. So you start gathering the HR and logistics data to support those analysis. But in the week 3, your manager suddenly says, actually just ignore that. Analyze why website traffic dropped instead. So your initial work is like thrown away into dustbin. You start from zero and weeks and months are wasted based on these changing requirements. So to prevent this, we use a document called as scope of work, which is SOW. A scope of work is a formal agreement or a document that defines the project objectives, work that will be done or will not be done, deliverables, timelines and milestones, responsibilities and success criteria. Uh, the SOW document actually ensures you and your stakeholder agree on everything before the work begins. Okay, so at the start of any data collection process or analyzing the data, so before the work begins, we are sure like this is what we are going to do in the project. So that's why this SOW is highly necessary. It prevents misunderstandings, scope creep, delays, and rework to the analysis. If someone doesn't understand scope creep, so it is nothing but the change in the scope of the project due to the changing requirements of the stakeholders. Okay, so now let's go to the SOW document. You see there are like several sections to this scope of work. This first section is project information. It details out the overview of the project. Like it gives the field, like we can enter the project name, the project ID, who is the sponsor for this project, or who is our client, the business unit, project manager, the data analyst who or the team who are doing the work, when it was prepared and what is the version of it. It gives the business background, like we can give the background of the requirement. In this case we have given like ABC retail as a sample. We have given ABC retail experienced a 20% decline in grocery sales for food products during Q1 in the state of Maharashtra. So and we have also provided like the strikes may have originated due to wage disputes or something like that. So we just give the background of the requirement. Now what has a manager asked us to do? We provide that in the problem statement, like grocery sales for food products or something. And based on our RCA, the SMART framework, the 5W1H, whatever we have applied, we refine the problem statement further, like as we have already done in our previous case study. Okay, so this is the one. Now project purpose and objective. So it clearly states what is the purpose for this project. Like identify the root causes for labor strikes affecting logistics operations and evaluate their impact on grocery sales. The objectives are to identify the like why the strike has happened, measure logistics impact, quantify sales loss and recommend improvements. It lists down the scope for the projects. Okay, so like included in scope might be requirement gathering, stakeholder interviews, any RCA, data collection, HR analysis, logistics, sales analysis, dashboard, recommendations. Okay, so these all comes as a project activities or are within the scope for the project. Out of scope can be like the legal investigation, union negotiation, payroll processing changes, marketing or warehouse analysis, something like that. Okay, so it clearly states what comes within the scope and what goes out of the scope for this analysis. Who are the stakeholders which are involved in this project? We can list out all of them, like operations manager, logistic head, HR manager, warehouse manager, data analyst, finance manager. Okay, and what data would actually be required for this project, like the data sets across sales, inventory, logistics, HR, attendance records, union grievances record, payroll, external labor data, financial records. Okay, so all this data might be used for the project. So that's how we list down within the scope of work. Now the KPIs and metrics which are supposed to be derived in order to understand or in order to complete this project. Okay, so we need we need KPIs like the sales record, the stock availability, the on-time deliveries, strike days, warehouse downtime. Okay, so all these KPIs we will we will monitor as part of this project. We list down all the targets, like what to be achieved and who is the owner for it. Okay. What deliverables, this section actually gives you the information what would be delivered as part of this project, like the business requirement document, data collection plan, the clean data set, root cause analysis report, interactive dashboard, any recommendation report or executive product presentation. Okay, so these are nothing but deliverables. We need to also give the clear timelines for this project, we can divide it step by step in the milestone, like requirement gathering, stakeholders sign off, when it will happen, data collection, data cleaning, analysis plan, dashboard, when the project when the presentation will be ready. Okay, so these all are nothing but the timelines for the project. Any risk or assumptions we can clearly highlight as you can read through. Communication plan, like how we will communicate the like at what point or at which milestone we will communicate the progress of this project. Okay, so this can be listed down in this section. Estimated completion and the estimated completion date, any sign off required by the stakeholders, so those can be given. Okay, so hope you have understood clearly uh, the purpose of this SOW document and the contents of it. Now if there is any change in the requirement, the data analyst can again create this SOW document and communicate the initial versus the current project requirements and timelines, so that every stakeholders are on the same page, or if there is any delay to communicate to the stakeholders, so this is the formal way to communicate that also. Okay, so I will give you this template at the end of the session, so that you can go through it and understand it in a more uh, in a clear way. Okay, all right. Now we have gone through the SMART plus 5W1H and RCA framework. Now it's your turn to analyze a problem statement or a business case study. I will wait here for 10 minutes until you work on the case study and you actually create a refined problem statement. Okay, so here is the case study. The customer service manager asks you to analyze the recent increase in the customer complaints for our company products. They also expect your recommendation for the issue, or how can we prevent it. Okay, so your task is to apply SMART plus 5W1H to refine the problem, use RCA to uncover the potential root causes, and write your refined problem statement and post it in the chat. There is a prize for you. The person with the best answer or the top three answer, I will try to rank it, and it would be recognized by our founder directly on LinkedIn. So this will help you or your profile to also get highlighted on our in within our community. Okay, so your timer starts now. Begin your work and answer it within 10 minutes. Thank you all for the answers. We will review all the answers and declare top 3 winners in the Telegram group, and also it will be recognized by our founder on LinkedIn also. So let's revise what we have learned today. The key takeaways from today's session was the requirement clarification or ask phase is foundational, and we don't want to skip it in any of the situation, or even if you're in your interview, if interviewer gives you one statement, you should ask questions around it, okay, so that you can create a more refined problem statement. Use the SMART plus 5W1H framework to transform vague requirements into clear actionable problems. Root cause analysis uncovers deeper issues that shift your entire analysis. The scope of work document protect you and prevent any scope creep. Asking good questions saves time and improves results. Now remember this, a skilled analyst spends time understanding the destination before starting the journey, or before even begin to look at any data. Now what are the next steps? You can apply this framework into your next interview or the project. Practice the framework, download the bonus documents. I will provide you the link within this chat, and join our 4000 plus analyst community for more training on LinkedIn, Telegram. You can also follow our founder on Instagram as well. The free bonus, here is it in your chat section. I will pause. I will wait for another 5-10 minutes, and if you have any questions, you can post them now, and I will address them uh, in the chat section. Okay. So again, thank you so much for spending this hour with me. I genuinely hope you are leaving today with a new perspective on what makes great data analyst, the tools and frameworks you can use immediately, a more confidence in your next interview or project. And remember, the difference between good and great analyst isn't technical skills alone. It's the ability to understand the business problem deeply and ask the right questions. This is Ganesh from your companion. Stay curious, keep asking questions, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you.